Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the sixth episode in the series of webinars focusing on the Daughters of Penelope mandatory and voluntary projects. Today, our presentation is about the Penelopean Daycare Center in Athens, Greece. The Kyriatides chapter have sponsored the center for many years, and unfortunately, I have not been able to visit the center during my tenure as Grand President to see their programs and services from close up, apokonda, as we say in Greek. I invite Grand Secretary Georgette Boulageris to introduce Veronica Tsalta, our speaker today.
Hello, sisters, and thank you for coming to this webinar. This is our next to the last webinar and a really exciting one since it is hosted by sisters from Greece and coming to us over the Atlantic Ocean. Sister Veronica, a past president of the Kyriatides chapter, is now the number one counselor on the board of the chapter. She has been a frequent delegate to our Supreme Convention, so you might recognize her face since she's been a delegate at Supreme Conventions for 7 years. A graduate of in mathematics at the National University of Athens, she finished her postgraduate work at the University of Manchester in England on computer science. She has worked at the Computer Center of the Social Security of Greece, a systems analyst and project manager of custom-made applications for the Social Security Organization of Greece, the director of the Technical Support Division, and she retired in 2008. She has dedicated much of her time and has been very generous with the Daughters of Penelope Daycare Center. She speaks English, French, and Greek. It was my honor to meet her and to spend some time with her in Brussels, I think a year ago. The wife of Nick and the mother of two daughters, Amalia and Katerina, she is a dedicated sister who works tirelessly to support the good of the order. Sisters, if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A or in the chat, and Sister Kathy Matrakis and I will make sure that Sister Veronica sees them. Without further ado, Sister Veronica, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Georgette, and thank you, Grand President Celia, and everyone on the lodge, Sister Kathy and Elena, most for monitoring this Zoom presentation. I wish we could be together like in older days, but still, it's a good opportunity that we can speak to a lot of people, more than the ones that are on the delegation, on the convention. So it's good to have the Zoom, at least under the circumstances. So I will share my screen with you. Yeah. And start the Zoom. Sorry for the delay, some problems. No. Okay. All right. Now, can you see my monitor? Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Now, this is what the Penelopean Daycare Center looks outside when you visit. I'll tell you a few things about the story, the history behind it, because it goes back in the 50s. So the Penelopean Foundation was founded on the 4th of April, 1958. And in Nea Ionia, Athens, Greece. And it was founded by the Kyriatides chapter of Daughters of Penelope, together with the graduates of the Women's American College of Constantinople. Its purpose was to provide shelter and education to young girls of 12 years and older who, having committed minor offenses, were facing the possibility of being imprisoned together with adult women who were convicted for major crimes, such as murder. Now, two of the Karyatidis sisters, Eleni Kanelopoulou and Eleni Tranda, at the time, we don't have Eleni Kanelopoulou with us anymore, but we do have Eleni Tranda. She's still an active member of our chapter. So they had visited the prison establishments and concluded that this was hardly the proper environment for minors. It was then that they were inspired to create the Penelopean Foundation for these girls. Now, these ladies and the chapter sisters really struggled to raise the funds for this project. They organized social events, they bought a car and put it to lottery, and they were selling lottery tickets all over Athens at the time. And anyway, they bought a lot of about 26,000 square feet in Nea Ionia and had a building constructed at about 16,200 square feet. The Daughters of Penelope in the US donated also for this construction. And then soon the graduates of the American College of Constantinople left the project, and the Karyatidis undertook the whole responsibility of its management and upkeep. For many years, the girls at the Penelopean Foundation lived in a healthy and safe environment and received education that would be useful for them in their lives after leaving the foundation. Cooking, sewing, theater, dancing, English language were some of the lessons that were taught to them entirely by the volunteer work of the Karyatidis sisters. But most important for them was the love and the warmth they received at the Penelopean. Then in 1975, the government announced that these services were no longer needed because obviously they took care about this problem in another way. The Karyatidis then transformed the Penelopean into a daycare center, hosting children from 8 months to 5 years old of needy families. And up to now, thousands of children and their parents have benefited from the services of the center, which is very much appreciated by the municipality of Nea Ionia and the state, of course. And a few years ago, the Academy of Athens presented the Penelopean with an honorary award for its excellent quality of services in the domain of civic responsibility. So that's the history behind the Penelopean. It was not always a daycare center, but it is for 45 years now. So what's the structure of the Penelopean? According to the operational regulations of the foundation, the Penelopean is managed by the board of directors consisting of 9 members. 7 of these members are of the Karyatidis chapter, and they are elected by the chapter every 3 years. They are not paid, their work is totally voluntary. The other 2 members are appointed by the municipality of Nea Ionia and by the region of Attica. They are both paid by these local authorities. And the president of the board, or otherwise the president of the Penelopean, as we call her, and the other officials, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, and the minutes secretary, are elected among and by the 7 Karyatidis members of the board. Now we come to the personnel. Today, the personnel of the Penelopean consists of 20 employees. They are nursery educators, childcare assistants, baby assistants, theatrical activities educator, cooks, and janitorial personnel. The employees are evaluated and hired by the board of directors on a 3-year contract, which may be renewed. It is a full-time job under Greek labor regulations. The center also uses the services of an outside accountant and a CPA at the end of the year, as well a part-time doctor for the children. Now the children. The maximum capacity of the Penelopean is 140 children. Since last year, a new law issued by the government established that the age of the children accepted in all daycare centers is from 8 months to 4 years. Older preschool children will have to go to kindergartens, which now belong to the mandatory education, like the primary schools, and they are controlled by the Ministry of Education. By the way, the daycare centers are controlled by the Ministry of Social Services. And we, according their age, the children are placed in one of the following categories. From 8 months to 2 years, one category, they're the babies. From 2 to 3 years, infants. And from 3 to 4 years, it's a preschool children they are. There are 2 groups or classes or tmimata, as we say in Greek, for each of these categories. Each one of them provides a different kind of care, activities, and education for the children appropriate for their age. So we have a total of 6 groups or classes operating at the Penelopean. The parents apply for admission of their children to the Penelopean, usually in the months of July and September. The daycare centers operate 11 months in a year in Greece, as they are closed for the month of August. Among the documents required are an official statement of their financial status and a statement from a doctor that the child has received the standard vaccination for their age. Say like measles, chickenpox, or mumps, whatever. Otherwise, the child will not be admitted to the Penelopean. And okay, now I will talk to you about the building. You've seen it on my first slide there, and this is the backyard. It is a 2-story building with a small garden in front and the backyard behind. This is the backyard. On the ground floor are the reception area and the offices, the art lessons hall. This is the art lessons hall, divided in 2 by a large folding door, which opens in events like a Christmas celebration. It serves as a dining room and a classroom. There are children and personnel bathrooms. There are children's bedrooms, kitchen and laundry facilities. These are some of the classrooms you can see. Oh, that's the other floor. Some of the classrooms. Now, on the first floor, there's a small chapel dedicated to Ipapandi. There are, of course, classrooms, bathrooms, and bedrooms. This is the hall where they they hang their vests and stuff. Now the building is over 60 years old and needs a lot of maintenance and upkeep. Every year it is inspected by the local authority inspection committee, who suggest changes and improvements that are necessary to have a safe environment for the children. I remember a couple of years ago, they insisted very much on changing the convectors of the heating system because they had sharp edges and they were dangerous for the children. But over the years, sorry?
Sister Veronica, you were showing the children, and one question is how, in all the rules that the government has for the daycare center, one of the questions the sisters had was, how did the pandemic affect?
Oh, yes, I'll come to that. There's a big impact on that.
Okay.
Not so much for the children, okay? Not so much for the children. Allow me to come to that later, please.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, up-to-date maintenance. This is the playground. Over the years, we have done considerable improvements to the building, thanks to the donations of the Daughters of Penelope in the US, for which we are very thankful. Also, we have had help from the Caryatides, the chapter, and other donors. Here are some of the projects that we have already done. We have a new playground on the, these are some more, no, this is behind. We have a new playground in the building. We put thermal insulation on the roof, replacing the aluminum and glasses of 60 windows to make them weatherproof, painting the walls, replacing several of the old banisters, replacing a big part of the electricity system. There we had problem. We put new wires and control panel because we had electricity failures and most important, fire alarm system failures. Some more classrooms. We replaced the 54 old convectors of the heating system as they were dangerous for the children. And that project cost 12,000 euro. I haven't converted that to, to dollars, but it's more or less the same. Okay. And we did that. We replaced 3 emergency exit doors on the ground floor as they did not comply at all with the safety specifications. That was a project of 300 euros. And we did a big maintenance on the old plumbing system, replacing several damaged old drainage clay pipes, replacing 6 toilets, 6 basins, 2 diaper changing units, and all the tiles in the bathrooms of the ground floor. That was 8,000 euros, this project. Now, see here the children washing their hands in the bathroom, the new bathrooms. And they do that quite often because of the COVID. We place the electrical cables. You see, perhaps you can see there's a cable up here on the backyard that is hanging over the heads of the children. And we put that under the yard surface. We put it underground because it was not safe there. And lately, we had a donation from one lady, a specific donation, to construct a theater outside. You can see that's the theater for the performances of the children. Before that, they had just the platform there and then a tent up of them to do the summer goodbye performance anyway. And so we need to do some future maintenance. We are planning. We need to change the bathrooms on the first floor as well because they're old and in a bad condition. That's an estimate of 7,000 euro. And we need to change the heating unit, central heating unit, from oil to gas. It's 4,000 the project because gas is cheaper. And sometimes we have oil donations from the ship owners, but sometimes we don't have. So these are the future things that we have in mind. And also in the art, you see this art lessons hall. There's this big door, large door that is used as a divider to create 2 classrooms. And it's falling apart in a few words. And we need to replace that. The cost will be 3,600 euros. And here you see the back of the building with this escalator here. And I think we need to create an emergency exit door or emergency exit facilities on the first floor, because we keep the babies there. They stay there and they are kept there. So we need to do something. You cannot go down that stair carrying babies in a case of an emergency. Well, the cost has not been defined yet. We will evaluate the offers when it will be possible after the COVID lockdown. Now, I need to say this, that the cost for any maintenance and upkeep of the building depends entirely on donations. We're not funded for that. So we are thankful to all for those who help us. Now, what do we do? What kind of services do we provide for the children? The children are hosted at the Penelopean from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on working days, Monday to Friday. They have 3 meals a day, breakfast, snack, and lunch. The menu is scheduled on a weekly basis by a children's dietitian doctor, so that their food contains all the necessary ingredients for their age. And of course, we make sure that they're of the best quality. The meals are cooked every day. No frozen food or any kind of ready meal are allowed. During the first lockdown, which was for 3 months, about 3 months last spring, we distributed to the most needy families of the children whatever was in the refrigerators of the Penelopean. Now, a doctor visits twice a month to check on the children. And after lunch, the children take an afternoon nap and the babies sleep whenever it is needed for them. One baby assistant is not allowed to have more than 10 babies in her care. It's forbidden by law. They cannot. During the day, the children are engaged in the following activities. They play with their toys, indoors or outdoors, in the yard or in the playground, under the supervision of the assistants, the child care assistants. They participate in team games or sports, indoors or outdoors, enhancing their communication skills. They take part in drawing and craftsmanship activities, like you can see here. They sing and take part in musical and theatrical performances. You can see performing at the farewell, oh, I missed one L there, ceremony at the end of the year, this is July. And they love doing this. They love performing. They take part in discussions for their speech development. And the teachers read fairy tales to them to develop their comprehensive skills. Here is a small video that I took during a Christmas performance, and I'd like you to see it. Please watch the teacher. Okay, that was it. Now, apart from the fairy tales, they learn social behavior and get environmental education. For instance, trash is discarded in the bins and the plastics in special bins. They take gardening lessons, as you can see here. in the pictures. And they're very happy to watch their plants grow. They see it as one of their creations there. We did that anyway. And sometimes they have pasta days. That's when the children have fun making pasta with their hands using flour and water. And they participate in physics experiments, such as watching an egg flow differently when they add salt in the water. And this, although it seems naive or physics experiments for that age, no, it stimulates their curiosity and therefore research spirit. So as one can see, as you can see, the Penelopean daycare is not just a place where working mothers and parents just park their children and somebody just feeds them and babysits for them. Families with low or no income have the opportunity to give their children the luxury of an education that they might get in a costly private daycare, which they cannot afford. And for us, it is the satisfaction that we do not only help needy mothers and families, but we also give these children the psychological and educational background for a healthy living, away from any kind of violence, domestic or social. Experiences that they get at this age are fundamental for the rest of their lives. And then let's see how we cover the expenses, what the expenses are. The operational cost of the Penelopean that I give you below is based on a normal COVID-free year, like 2019. Because of the COVID last year, the Penelopean was closed from mid-March to the beginning of June, and then during the months of November and December. At this time I'm speaking to you, it is closed because the Athens area is in the red, as we say. Now, closing down the daycare changes both the cost and the income funds, and I will explain to you why. Now, the yearly operational expenses are, of course, the payroll of the personnel, that's the bigger part, food supplies, electricity, water, and heating expenses. We have an insurance for the children against accidents on the that might happen at the premises, and we are, thank God, we haven't made use of it yet. We use an external accountant and doctor services on a monthly basis, and services of a certified public accountant, a CPA, once a year to check and verify our financials, and of course miscellaneous expenses. Now, the yearly budget for the above expenses is 300,000 euros, of which the major cost is the payroll of the personnel. And now I'll do some math for you. Since we host an average of 120 children per year, this gives us an average cost of 2,500 euros per child per year, which is times lower than other comparable institutions. As I told you, we provide excellent services compared to that of a private daycare. Now, if we divide the number 2,050 by 11 months of operation of the Penelopean in a year, because it is closed in August, it gives an average cost of 220 euros per child for every month that they are hosted at the Penelopean. And this is important because you'll see where this funding, where this funding comes from. Espa is a European welfare program that covers a considerable part of our operational services. The amount provided depends on the number of children we have in our care and of the time that the Penelopean operates. Therefore, we are funded for 11 months under normal circumstances. Therefore, yeah, the 3-month lockdown of last spring was not funded. We didn't get money for that period. Now, let me explain how the Espa funding operates. They don't give the money directly to the Penelopean. They get the petitions of the parents and evaluate them according to their if they are poor or needy or so, and they decided to fund the child on this basis of the 220 euro per child per month. So they decide that, okay, this child will go free. This child, the majority are free. I mean, they cover all the cost. But for some of them, they don't. They say, okay, we cover by a percentage. They give vouchers to the parents, and the parents give the vouchers to us, and we collect the money. That's how it works. Come to the parents. We take an amount of 30% of our budget from the Ministry of Social Services. Now, the parents. A few of the parents, as I said, that's hardly 10% of them, contribute to the operational cost with a small amount, for example, 70 or 100 or 150 euros per month, according to their annual income. For the majority, it's free, because most of them are needy families of low or no income. And there is an independent group of people that call themselves Friends of the Penelopean, who contribute by occasionally donating in kind, not in money. They donate food, bed sheets, blankets, toys, oil for the heating from the ship owners, etc. These last two, C&D, I mean the Friends of the Penelopean and the parents, cover 5% of our budget. And that's how the Penelopean gets the money for our operation. Now I'll come, sorry.
Veronica, I think you answered the question. Somebody said about any funding from the government, but you explained with the welfare and the social services that are received from the government. Thank you.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yeah, we take an amount each year of about 30% of our budget. Yes, that's what. And now I'll talk to you about the COVID precautions and consequences of it. Now, the Penelopean needs to take precautions because of the COVID pandemic, of course, and they are part of a standard protocol issued by the government. The temperature of the staff and the children is taken before entering the building. The parents are not allowed to enter the building. They bring and take their children at the entrance door. The staff, of course, wear masks inside the building. The baby assistants wear masks and disposable gloves when attending the babies. The cleaning staff also wear masks and disposable gloves. The building is aired regularly. Sanitizing and disinfection procedures are performed at specific hours when the children are not there, with materials provided by the public health authorities. We don't choose what we put in the building to clean it, to sanitize it. And now, every child, there are sanitizing fluids, of course, for the staff, and the children wash their hands regularly under their supervision of the staff. Every child has his or her own box of toys. Every week, these toys are sanitized and exchanged with the toys of another child. So they don't exchange toys during the week. Now, if a child has fever, he or she goes home and may come back in 3 days, after 3 days, with a doctor's statement that the child has a negative COVID test. Otherwise, they stay home. Now, the COVID pandemic has a psychological impact on people, as you will know, and the children are not an exception. According to the psychologists, the COVID should not be an invisible and vague threat for the children. It should be faced by them as something visible, something that has a form and a shape. Therefore, the arts and crafts class, in that class, the children draw and form the COVID in colored papers so that they somehow visualize, you see, and they write down there, stop COVID or something. And also, the teachers read to them books with new fairy tales and stories that personalize the COVID. They speak of it as if he were a person, not a threat. So it seems that we have a new age in fairy tales. No more dragons and other monsters. We have the COVID. And the pandemic has also an impact on the Penelopean. The number of children has dropped to 90 this year, and many of them are babies, more babies than we had in previous years. Before the COVID, the number of the children was reaching 140. The parents, you see, the parents are reluctant to send their children to daycares, and some of them even keep them away from school. We don't send them to school because they're afraid they will get ill. Maybe they have grandparents staying with them, and they are afraid they will catch the COVID. And that reduces the number of children. And of course, they can do this because several of the parents have lost their jobs because of the COVID. Shops, you know, cafeterias, restaurants, they are closed down. So a lot of people have lost their jobs. They stay home and they keep their children to protect them. So 90. But this means less funds from the Espa program, since these funds are based on the number of children, as I already told you, and the duration of the stay. If they stay, say, 5 months or 6 months, we are funded for 6 months. On the other hand, we cannot cut down on personnel because, as I told you, one baby assistant cannot have in her care more than 10 babies. So we need more baby assistants. That is why every donation counts. Every donation is welcome and very much appreciated and needed. This can be in the form of money, or it can be in the form of donation in kind. For example, Sister Marina Van Vacas, president of the Brussels chapter of the Daughters of Penelope, she is a famous, well-recognized painter. Among other things, of course, she's also a writer. She offered to donate one of her paintings to be auctioned off in our next fundraising event. Marina, thank you very much. If you're listening to us now, σε ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Thank you. And also we thank the Daughters of Penelope for their donations, and of course all those who help us not to lose our faith, so that we will keep on doing the best for our children, as we have always done. So sisters, thank you very much for your patience, for listening to me. I hope I gave a picture of what we do there. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Sister Veronica, you said something about Athens being closed because it's in the red zone. And
Yes.
so,
So
the daycare center is also closed at this time?
Yes,
What,
and the school.
in the school. So at what level do they reopen everything?
That depends on how the COVID estimations go. I mean, they check every day the new cases of COVID. They estimate how many people are in the intensive cares, how many are incubated in the intensive cares, how many deaths we have. And Athens, really, they say it's in the red because at this time they have a lot of incidences. They have, today, I think they announced 27 deaths, which is very much. It's a lot. And over 300 people are incubated in intensive cares. And they fear that the health system might collapse under the circumstances. So, and take into account that in Athens is almost half the population of Greece. It's 5 million out of 11 live in the Athens area. So it is in the red, and shops are closed. You can only order through the healthy goods through delivery, except for supermarkets. And you can only go out on a specific cause that you send an SMS stating the cause why you go out. And the causes are either you go to the doctor or you go to buy food at the supermarket, or you have to take your pet outside, or you need to go for a walk, small walk around your house yourself. You cannot stay all the time indoors. And then at 9 o'clock, any circulation stops. You have to stay indoors. And I think on weekends, I think it is 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to stay in. And of course, no gatherings, no parties. You cannot have more than, I don't know how many, 9 people in your home in a case of a celebration or something. And you can only go to, if it's necessary, to very few persons, the close family, to funerals. It's hard. It's a hard time. And it's not only Athens. A lot of other places in Greece are in the red, like Patra and
Very difficult.
some, yeah, very Evia and some places in Crete. Yeah, it's difficult. And now it's raising in Thessaloniki, and maybe they will have a lockdown there too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Another sister asked, do you provide clothing for the children?
No, we don't. We don't buy clothing. Of course, when we, I remember a couple of years ago, we had the Christmas celebration, and we gave children presents. And we were able, thanks to a generous donation, to make 2 presents for the children. We gave them 1 toy, and the other was clothing. And for about 10 families that were very needed, we had extra clothing presents for them, like jackets and things like that. But
So
no,
what I understand is that you do service a needier population of families that might not be able to afford like a private preschool or a private daycare. So you do serve like the working family and the needy family in taking care of their children while the
Right.
parents try to move forward economically.
right. That's what we do. Yes, and that's how we make the difference. I think we offer children something they can never have, the luxury of a private daycare. And of course, we take as many as we can, but 140 is our limit. We cannot have more than that.
It seems that way. Did you ever track some of the children that were there about 20 years ago, and do they come back and say, I remember going to the daycare center, you know,
Well, I personally, I don't have this experience, but maybe the staff have, the personnel have this experience. But they come back after a few years when they're primary school. They like to come back and say hello. Yes, they do that. I don't know about 20 years before, but yes, they come back.
That's a warm feeling. That means they've established really wonderful memories.
Oh, yes.
Experiences
have.
at the daycare center. Well, Sister Veronica, on behalf of the daughters, I thank you so much for giving your time. And sisters, I want to remind you that there's a video too that Sister Veronica had somebody compile that is on the project's PowerPoint that we have put out there since the beginning of the year on the daughter's website. So
yes, I didn't put that because it lasts.
yes,
It's long, and it's already on the website. So that's why I didn't.
I sing the Kalimera song with the children every time I watch it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Sister.
Sister, I think there was one more question. How is the staff paid? It just came up. Sister,
Sorry?
how is the staff paid was a question.
Oh, the staff is paid on a monthly basis, and it's like any under the law regulations of any employee in Greece in the private domain. They are paid 14 months a year because they take one for every month, and then they have an extra month pay in Christmas, half a month in Easter, and half a month in summertime. So it's 14 months salary per year. It's not just that. And they're paid on a monthly basis. And of course, we cover their insurance in the Social Security. And we give part of their, I think, part of their tax. I'm not sure about that, but definitely the Social Security for them. And they're paid on a monthly basis. And you see, that's a problem. If they have a 3-year contract, we cannot break that because we would have to pay a compensation of a lot of money. So we keep them. They're good. We don't have a reason to send them away. They're very good. Actually, they're doing very good work there. And we cannot cut down, as I told you, because you see, we stay closed because of the COVID for a few months. What do? We don't send the personnel away. It's there. So, and the Penelopean is open. I mean, open, not open, but some people go to clean and maintain somehow the building. And that's what we do. Yes, that's the biggest cost, the personnel. But
absolutely.
They're doing a lot of work.
Sisters, so you know, Sister Executive Director Elena put a link to the Venmo video of the daycare center in the chat for you. And hopefully we can also do that on Facebook, put a link to the video as well, besides promoting and publishing this webinar on Facebook. Sister Veronica, I can't thank you enough for not only your work with the with the daycare center, but for your dedication as a sister, for your support of the European and Greek chapters. You do so much that people really don't realize, and for that I know I appreciate it very much.
Wow. And thank you very much. Thank everybody.
I think I'm going to turn it over to Grand President Celia for her closing remarks.
And we hope to see you, Sister Celia. We hope to see you this year.
Oh, my fingers are crossed, yes. Veronica. I want to thank you so much, Veronica, for taking the time to inform our members and even those of us who are on the panel today about the Penelopean Daycare Center, some of the nitty-gritty things that, you know, we don't always hear about. For the Untitled Chapter, I think the daycare center is a labor of love. and your commitment to the center is it just warms my heart. You do such wonderful things and support that project. You know what, I was kind of hoping we might see the video today, because one of my greatest joys that melts my heart is listening to children speak Greek. I thoroughly enjoy that. I'm a little envious of how well they speak it.
Well,
you know, and when you did that, the school classroom, I taught grade 1 for 30 years. And so, you know, if you took that teacher and cut her hair and made it brown, that would have been me doing all those actions for the kids to follow while they were at their concerts. And, you know, I always said, parents, doesn't really matter what the kids do as long as they see their kid up on the stage. So I thank you for that. It brought a smile to my face and a bit of a tear to my eye. I want to thank all the sisters for attending today's presentation. It is my hope that you were able to gain some insights into this project that you can share with the sisters in your area. I once again want to thank our organizers, Sister Elena, Sister Georgette, and Sister Kathy, for coordinating and hosting our webinars on the projects. I invite you all to tune in next week, when our topic of conversation will be Meals on Wheels. And please notice there's a change of time. We'll be at 11 a.m. next Thursday. So until then, stay well, stay in touch, and remember, together we are stronger, and together we thrive. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Veronica.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hola, Pilaya.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I hope I've been able to clarify a few things and to give a better idea about the Penelopean, more to make it more visible. Okay.
Definitely have.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.